1942. The world is engulfed in flames. In the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, the Imperial Japanese Navy reigns supreme. 6 months after the devastating attack on Pearl Harbor, Japan's ambitions stretch across Asia and deep into the Pacific. Their string of victories seems unstoppable, their naval power unmatched. The United States, reeling from its losses, is on the defensive, its fleet crippled, its morale shaken. The fate of the war hangs precariously in the balance, resting not just on ships and planes, but on secrets hidden within a complex web of code. At the heart of Japan's strategic dominance is a cipher known as JN25. This was the Imperial Japanese Navy's primary operational code, a sophisticated system that the Japanese military believed to be completely unbreakable. For months, American cryptanalysts at Station Hypo in Hawaii, a damp windowless basement affectionately nicknamed the Dungeon, had been chipping away at it. Led by the brilliant but unconventional Commander Joseph Rochefort, this team of codebreakers worked tirelessly, poring over endless strings of numbers, searching for any pattern, any weakness, any crack in Japan's armor. They were hunting for a needle in a haystack of encrypted signals, knowing that a single breakthrough could change everything. By late spring, Rochefort's team had made significant progress. They could decipher fragments of messages, gleaning precious intelligence about Japanese movements and intentions. But a complete picture remained elusive. Then, a crucial piece of the puzzle emerged. Intercepted communications repeatedly mentioned a major upcoming operation targeting a location designated by the codename AF. The chatter was constant, urgent. It was clear that AF was the objective of a massive Japanese offensive, one designed to crush the remaining American naval power in the Pacific and secure Japan's dominance once and for all. The million-dollar question was, where was AF? Speculation ran wild among American intelligence circles. Some believed it could be the Aleutian Islands, off the coast of Alaska. Others pointed to targets on the west coast of the United States. A wrong guess would be catastrophic, leaving the true target vulnerable and potentially leading to a decisive defeat. The pressure on Rochefort was immense. He had a strong suspicion, a gut feeling backed by his deep understanding of Japanese naval strategy. He believed AF was Midway Atoll, a tiny but strategically vital American outpost, a stepping stone in the middle of the Pacific. But a hunch wasn't enough. He needed proof, solid, undeniable proof, before Admiral Chester Nimitz, the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Pacific Fleet, would risk his few remaining carriers on it. This is where Rochefort's genius for deception came into play. He couldn't break the code completely, so he decided to bait the Japanese into revealing the answer themselves. He devised a clever and audacious trap, knowing that Midway's communications were likely monitored by the Japanese. He instructed the U.S. garrison on the island to send a specific false message using an unencrypted channel. The message was simple and seemingly mundane. Midway's freshwater distillation plant had broken down, and the island was critically short of fresh water. The bait was set. Now, all Rochefort and his team could do was wait and listen. The wait was agonizing. Days turned into a week. The team at Station Hypo monitored every signal, every whisper of Japanese radio traffic. Had the trap worked, or had the Japanese seen through the ruse? Then, it came. A Japanese intelligence outpost intercepted the false message from Midway, just as Rochefort had hoped. Believing the information to be genuine, they dutifully reported it up their chain of command. Shortly after, an encrypted Japanese message was intercepted by Station Hypo. As Rochefort's team painstakingly decrypted the signal, their excitement mounted. The message contained the golden phrase they had been waiting for. AF is short of water. The trap had sprung. The connection was undeniable. AF was Midway. Rochefort now had the irrefutable proof he needed. He immediately relayed the intelligence to Admiral Nimitz. This single, decoded message was the key that unlocked Japan's entire operational plan. The Americans now knew not only the target but also the approximate timing and the immense scale of the impending attack. The Japanese were planning to send 4 of their most powerful aircraft carriers, the very same veterans of the Pearl Harbor attack, to annihilate Midway's defenses and lure the American fleet into a final, decisive battle. They believed their plan was flawless, their location a complete surprise. They had no idea the element of surprise was already lost. Armed with this game-changing intelligence, Admiral Nimitz faced a monumental decision. The U.S. Pacific Fleet was severely weakened. He had only 3 aircraft carriers, the Yorktown Enterprise and Hornet against Japan's 4, and his ships were outnumbered in almost every category. The Yorktown itself was heavily damaged from the recent Battle of the Coral Sea, and engineers had initially estimated repairs would take 3 months. Nimitz gave them 3 days. Miraculously, shipyard workers at Pearl Harbor performed miracles, patching up the carrier just enough for it to sail into battle. Conventional military wisdom screamed that engaging the superior Japanese force was suicide, but Nimitz had an ace up his sleeve. The knowledge of where and when the enemy would strike. He decided to gamble everything on Rochefort's intelligence. Trusting the codebreakers completely, he positioned his carriers in the perfect ambush position, northeast of Midway, lying in wait beyond the horizon, ready to spring their own trap. The fate of the war now rested on the outcome of this single, desperate battle. The early morning of June 4, 1942. The vast blue Pacific is calm. On the decks of the Japanese carriers, planes are being readied for the first strike. The mood is confident, almost arrogant. They expect to find Midway unprepared. Far to the northeast, the American carriers wait in tense silence. On Midway itself, defenses are on high alert. Just before sunrise, an American PBY Catalina reconnaissance plane breaks the radio silence with a chilling report. Many planes heading Midway. Moments later, another sighting. Main body sighted. Bearing 320, distance 180. The Japanese fleet had been found. The battle that would change the course of the war was about to begin. The first wave of Japanese aircraft, over 100 strong, descended upon Midway Atoll like a swarm of angry hornets. Bombs rained down, hammering the island's airstrips, hangars, and fuel depots. But the defenders were ready. Anti-aircraft guns filled the sky with black puffs of smoke. Outnumbered American fighters, mostly obsolete Brewster Buffaloes, rose to meet the elite Japanese Zeros in a desperate, heroic, and largely futile defense. The pilots of Midway knew their mission was to delay and disrupt the Japanese attack, buying precious time for the American carriers to launch their own strike. They flew with incredible courage, many to their deaths. Meanwhile, aboard the American carriers, a chaotic and disjointed counterattack was underway. Torpedo bombers from the Hornet, Enterprise, and Yorktown flew off in search of the Japanese fleet. They were slow, vulnerable, and tragically, most of them attacked without fighter escort. One by one, the squadrons were annihilated by the Japanese Combat Air Patrol. The torpedo planes of Torpedo Squadron 8 from the Hornet were all shot down. Only a single pilot, Ensign George Gay, survived. The sacrifice of these brave men seemed to be in vain, but it was not. Their relentless low-level attacks, though unsuccessful, had a crucial effect. They pulled the Japanese Zero fighters down to sea level, leaving the skies above the Japanese carriers dangerously exposed. They also forced the Japanese ships to maneuver wildly, delaying their ability to launch a second strike on the American carriers, whose location they had just discovered. It was at this exact moment of chaos and confusion, around 10:20 in the morning, that fate intervened. As the last of the American torpedo bombers were being shot down, high above the clouds, American dive bombers from the Enterprise in Yorktown arrived. They had nearly missed the enemy fleet, but a lone Japanese destroyer, steaming to catch up to its main force, had inadvertently led them directly to their target. What they saw below was a bomber pilot's dream. The decks of the Japanese carriers Akagi, Kaga, and Soryu were crowded with planes being refueled and rearmed for their attack on the American fleet. Bombs and torpedoes were stacked on the flight decks, fuel lines were running, and the hangars were packed with ordnance. They were floating powder kegs. The American dive bombers screamed down from the heavens, catching the Japanese completely by surprise. In the space of just 5 minutes, the course of the war was rewritten. Bombs slammed into the flight decks, triggering catastrophic chain reactions. The carrier Kaga was hit by multiple bombs and erupted into a massive inferno. The Soryu was hit next, and flames quickly consumed the ship. Then, the flagship Akagi, the pride of the fleet, took a fatal hit that ignited the fuel and munitions on her deck. Within minutes, 3 of Japan's finest aircraft carriers were transformed into blazing, sinking wrecks. The fourth carrier, the Haryu, managed to survive the initial onslaught and launched a counterstrike that severely damaged the American carrier Yorktown. But later that afternoon, dive bombers from the Enterprise found the Hiryu and sealed its fate with 4 direct hits. By the end of the day, the battle was over. The Japanese fleet, which had sailed towards Midway with such confidence, was in full retreat. They had lost 4 of their most powerful aircraft carriers, a heavy cruiser, and over 250 aircraft. Most devastatingly, they had lost thousands of irreplaceable personnel, including hundreds of their most experienced veteran pilots. The United States lost 1 carrier, the Yorktown, which finally succumbed to its damage, and sank a few days later, along with 1 destroyer and about 150 aircraft. It was a steep price, but the result was a victory of unimaginable proportions. The Battle of Midway was the turning point of the Pacific War. In a single day, the tide had shifted forever. Japan's offensive capability was shattered, and they would spend the rest of the war on the defensive. The victory, made possible by a team of codebreakers working in a basement in Hawaii, allowed the United States to seize the strategic initiative and begin its long, island-hopping campaign toward victory. It was a stunning demonstration of how intelligence, courage, and a little bit of luck can triumph against seemingly insurmountable odds. A single intercepted phrase, "AF is short of water," had set in motion a chain of events that reshaped the world. The story of Midway is a powerful reminder that history often turns on hidden moments, on secret messages, and unsung heroes. If you're fascinated by the covert operations and hidden turning points that define our history, you're in the right place. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because we have many more stories of secret codes, spies, and clandestine battles waiting to be uncovered. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.